Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I want to talk about a platform or a solution that I was presented to, and this is called the Datacake. And as you can see on the screen, it says it's an enterprise IoT platform. And I believe I have shown something similar a couple of years ago where you have an online solution or an online platform where you can upload your data to and you can use that platform for visualization. So this is like a SCADA for the IoT devices. And I'm feeling a little bit bad about this integration or about this whole platform because I think we started talking probably a good 9 or 8 months ago, and I thought instead of using my just my temperature sensor which is outside, I should really try to use some real life data, some rich data, in order to show the functionality of this solution. So I actually wanted to get live data from a well station or a pumping station, I think it's called. And I managed to do that. So the data that you see on the screen now is actually live data coming from a well station in Hungary. So I think they have like a couple of wells and some cleaning ponds and the water tower, and that's all being monitored by a couple of PLCs. And I have access to that PLC. I can remotely connect to it using Modbus and get the data out and push that into Datacake, and that's what I'm visualizing here. Unfortunately, and that's one of the reason. I think that's the main reason why this presentation or this review video was delayed so much, because I couldn't get this Modbus thing to work reliably. So it's nothing to do with Datacake. It's something with the Modbus, or maybe it's something with the PLC, because I have configured using the Noda-red Modbus extension, and this component or these components work fine in some of my other Modbus devices, but these devices tend to just stop communicating after some time. So they run for like, I don't know, like a day or two, and then all I can see that I'm requesting these devices to send me new data, and the messages that start to pile up in the Modbus queue. And I can't reset. If I try to reset the queue, nothing really happens. And I even opened the ticket on it, and I never get a response. So I don't know. Maybe it's because of this Modbus client, because it works, just fine on other Modbus clients. I don't really know, but I wanted, since I have access to this really good data, I wanted to have a good, history, because, well, actually history does matter on these online services, and I just can't get it run reliably for more than a couple of days. So anyway, and since I'm not able to fix this, I thought, well, let me just manually restart this service once in a while, and or restart a Modbus once in a while, and then just use the data which is available here. And I mean, after all, I'm going to talk about the service, and we can just imagine how it would look like if the data connection would be working fine as well. I think the other reason why I got a sort of asked to review this service, because as you can see, they are supporting a lot of different platforms, how you can communicate with Datacake, how you can put data in. For example, you can have MQTT. They also on the LoRaWAN network, so you can have LoRa devices. But one of the other integration they have, you can see, some of the main functionality here. So obviously you have dashboard. They provide the data storage. There is a whole user management behind the whole dashboarding. You can specify the alerts and text message alerts or email alerts within the Datacake solution. You can use MQTT brokers, REST API, and also, I don't think it's actually mentioned here, of course there's a lot more functionality, that they also provide a Noda-red node in order to integrate with Noda-red. And this was sort of back in the time when I was reviewing the Weidmüller Automation Controller. I think that was the perfect fit for Datacake, because you have an industrial PLC that can control, monitor various systems, which runs Node-red as well, so that can directly and securely communicate with their server, so update the data to the server. And by the way, as you can see, as you have seen here, they also provide hardware. So if you don't have anything, they just want sort of like monitoring, but you don't have an industrial or a commercial automation system, you can just purchase their hardware, and that's going to communicate with their server directly. So just, you know, it has all sorts of I/O ports, and you can connect devices or sensors to it, and that would automatically upload the data to the server, and you can just use the built-in dashboarding functionality to create your visuals. Yeah, I'm just quickly going through this. So let me talk about the Noda-red integration, because well, this is what I'm using. So as you can see, it's called the Noda-red Contrib Datacake. And if I look at the Datacake, it is a bit similar to how you have the sort of like the in and out nodes with Weidmüller, the automation controller. So if the Datacake offers two-way communication, I have only implemented a one-way communication. So I'm sending data in, and I'm just using the Datacake as a visualization dashboard. But you have the option as well to create actions within the dashboard. So you can put buttons, and that button can trigger something using, well, either these components or MQTT or any other communication methods. So I'm using the Datacake out, which basically, as it says here, publishing a measurement to a Datacake device. So as it goes with many of the services, you have a whole management dashboard here. And as you can see, these are basically the configuration options. So you can have multiple devices. I just created this demo Modbus device, which is actually, it's a PLC somewhere in the field in a VAL station. You can build a dashboard on the device, sort of on the device itself. But as we are going to see, you can create these sort of device independent dashboard where you would be able to show data from across many different devices, but I only have one, so for me it's slightly bit easier. And going back to the device screen, if I scroll a little bit further down, you can see all the values that I have already created. So of course I had to go through this process manually. So you can add fields, so you can add a field name and an identifier, and you can specify what sort of field that is. So it supports many different formats. Of course, what is the unit for that field? And you can also create formulas. So let's say your sensor is providing temperatures in centigrade, you can convert it to Fahrenheit using formulas. And not only that, you can create a simple values. You can also create sort of like lookup tables. So for example, I have a variable which is called the val1 is running, which is a Boolean value. So if I look at the edit fields, you can see it's a Boolean value, but I can also create let's say a lookup table or a mapping table for it. So if the value is off, then it says not running. If it's on, then it says running. So you can easily create like text inputs and not like discrete inputs, but you can also create sort of ranges as well. So if you have values from 0 to 100, then you can create a mapping where it says that from 0 to 20 it would say low, from 20 to 50 it would be medium, and I don't know, you get the idea. So you can create these mappings as well. And by the way, if I have, okay, not here. So I've created all these values, and you can see they have a lot of different stuff, booleans, different integer values. Everything comes with a unit of measure as well. And you can create additional mappings, or you can also set the value from here. And sometimes you see these values come up in red. That's when they are actually receiving an update from the, well, in my case, through the service. So I've actually spent a fair bit of time to create all these values. Once you have done these values, then of course you can start creating the dashboard. So I just created a couple of dashboards. So because I just have so many data, I wanted to somehow group it. So I have the main water levels, so we can see what is the water level in the reservoir, and I can see that in centimeters as well, and I can see that also in percentage, and then the percentage graph also shows me a gauge where I could specify what is the minimum and the maximum. And I can just quickly edit these dashboard, and as you can see, you can add widgets. So you can have Boolean widgets, charts, headlines, which is just a text, histograms. If you have geolocation, you can have a map as well. You can create just a table to display the data, some text data. As I said, you can create a button so that feeds back and you can set it up to control something, similar with a switch, and a few other options. And for each of them, when you create, you can resize them. So I can make this smaller if I want. I can move it around. And then whenever I go into any of these, you can see that I have in the device and the field, I specify what field I want to show. As you can see, the whole solution creates or supports multi-languages. So by default, I set up the project to, well, obviously it has German because it's a German product, but I also specified it in English. But I could specify other languages as well. So you can create all of the text and the units of measures in multiple languages. So even in the basics, you can see that, well, I just copy and pasted the same text for both languages, but I could have specified different ones. So if I have users across the different countries with different languages, they would have their own the dashboards in their specific language if I go through all these. In the appearance, I can configure, for example, an icon, which I haven't done, and I can configure colors. A tint color is the background color of this widget, and the highlight color is the border around this widget. I have done it in a few, so we can see how it looks like. And that's the gauge that I configured here. So obviously the percentage, it goes from 0 to 100, and I've also assigned some colors to it, which automatically creates this gradient. But as you can see, I could have added more values into that range. And probably the most importantly is, obviously you are uploading data to the server continuously. So the server has, well, probably the most relevant is the current value, which is the last reading that was supplied. But for every single element in the dashboard, you can specify what data to show. So as you can see, it is set to the current value, and it even shows me what was the last time this value was updated. So it was just updated a minute ago. But you can also specify a time operation. So for example, I can, if I have, well, for example, this is the water tower readings, I can also ask the system to show me the maximum reading for, let's say, for the last, for example, you can specify a time and a date here. So it makes it really easy to create data which is time dependent. You don't need your PLC to calculate what was the maximum reading or the average reading. You can just use the system to do that and just create a second widget which shows the same data with a different time value or with a different time frame. So let me leave that on the plus. And of course you can, well, I've shown you that you can create new widgets, and of course these can be viewed on the phone as well or on the mobile. So on the mobile you can create a different layout which obviously has less of these tile spaces because you have less real estate on the mobile. So I've only done this for the desktop, and let me now save the changes. So that was one of the dashboard, and in the electricity I wanted to test some of the chart features. Still, I don't think I have the best data. I try to visualize some of the electricity data because this pump station has three-phase pumps. So we have data for voltages in each of the phases, the voltage difference between each of the phases, power consumption on each of the phases. But as I said, because the Modbus service just keeps dropping the server, I'm just lacking the, the nice history that I would normally accept from these. But as you can see, this is a three-phase pump, so pretty much all the phases go together when it comes to either consumption or, phase currents. And these fields, this is where I use the highlight and the tint color. Maybe I didn't use, I just wanted to highlight these fields, but I'm just feeling that I could have picked a different color because the red might make you think that it indicates an error, but in fact it's not. And this is a Boolean field. So if I look at the device settings, this is the electricity feed error, which either returns a false and a true. So in the appearance, you can specify what is the, let's say, the true color and the false color. So when this value is false or true. So here, if the feed error is false, then everything is good. So the color is green. And if it's true, then it means that there is an issue with the electricity feed. So I should show this as red. And I think here I probably also created a, as you can see, you can even specify a text here. So because it's a Boolean value, so the widget automatically knows that I can replace the true or false with some text. So I just picked, fault and OK. So it really makes it easy to customize this data. And well, I don't think I use the time frame a lot, probably in some of the other widgets. And when it comes to charts, you can, again, you select the title and you can set the colors. And then in the devices, as you can see, I can pick, multiple fields. And for each of the fields, I can specify whether I want that data series to be shown as a line chart or an area chart or a bar chart, and whether it should be on the first or the second axis. Well, sorry, not even first or second, but how many axes I want, and if I want some interpolation, and well, the rest is labels. So as you can see, I have two axes here. So this one is, that's the voltage, and sorry, that's the voltage of each phases, and this scale that shows also voltage, but in between phases. And because they don't really change a lot, you don't see a lot of variance in this graph. But I just wanted to show you that you can use, a lot of different data points in one single chart, and also you can use different chart types within the same chart. And here I have specified I haven't really specified the axis as well, but I could have, specified the units here or the minimum and the maximum values. Oh, and in here on the chart, I specified the time frame. So it would only show me the data for the last, for the data for today. But you can, as you can see, you can pick some defaults like, this hour, this week, this month, this year, or custom. And if I look at the second chart, I think it's going to be fairly simple. I just have less data series. They are all green, and all area chart, you can see that they superimpose on top of each other. And I think here I just picked this week. So that chart should show a lot more data, which unfortunately doesn't at the moment. And fairly similar here, yeah. So 3 area charts. And well, this is using the time frame of today. And finally, on the last dashboard, I was putting data from various different types. As you can see, we have a couple of Boolean values here. Again, I was using the highlight to show me potential communication errors, but basically these greens or either reds indicate that everything is fine. And I have a bunch of different readings, like how many times the pumps has been switched off, what is the operating hours, and I have here stuff which says what is the switch on time and the operating hours today or yesterday. And here I wasn't using the built-in, time frame functionality, because actually this is something that the PLC calculates already. So I would just put in the data using Modbus. And also you can see some volume data, and So here I just showed like switched on or the operating hours using numbers, but I just put the same values into statistics as well. So you can have an idea of, when that pump was running. So it looks like it got switched on quite a lot this time period, and then it was working a little bit here and then a little bit here as well. But in terms of the operating hours, that didn't make a lot. Well, it did make a difference, but it was already at 40 something thousand hours. I said in the beginning this is a live system, but I think it's a system that is just getting commissioned. So these figures might not be 100% accurate. For example, this seems to have some issues as well. I'm not really sure why it is showing as minus 29. I think it's 1000 centimeters. So that's like, what is it, minus 30 meters. Unless this is a water level in the well, and that's why it's negative. To be honest, I'm not really sure. But again, I just wanted to show you, big range of values that also change, not just randomly, but more or less realistically. Going back to the configuration, so we have seen the devices, how you can configure the device, how you can configure each of the fields in the device. And by the way, when I look at the, sorry, it's under configuration. So under configuration, if I scroll all the way down, you can see these field values, these identifiers for all the fields. And this is what I was using in my Modbus flow as well. So I just wanted to keep it really simple. So I'm just reading a bunch of flags and a bunch of registers from the PLC. And I have created this flow which basically just compares what was sent now as opposed to what was sent last time, because I wanted to identify the deltas that needs to be sent over to Datacake. So I didn't want to just update everything every single time. And by doing this, I can also here, also in the dashboard, maybe here, I can see like, okay, so, the switched on count was last updated 29 minutes ago. So it means that that pump was switched on last time 29 minutes ago. And probably even this gives you some data on, when things got changed and probably, when something happened in the system. So going back to Noda-red, so that's the Datacake, which again, as I said, just compares to what was now versus what was just sent before. And then I just send out messages to Datacake, and it's really, really simple. I've basically mapping the Modbus addresses to the field name. So here in the Datacake node, I haven't really specified anything. I just said that that's the device. I want to update one of its fields. Of course, the configuration is the configuration how I connected my Datacake instance or my Datacake account to Noda-red. And then in the fields, you can specify the field here, but if you say all measurements, then you need to specify the field in the incoming message, which I have done here. So as you can see, message.fieldName, I specify the field that I have configured. Well, okay, I left that screen. So the what I've used in the configuration page. So here, and the payload is the message, which has to be in a format that accepts, Datacake accepts. So the Boolean comes as either 0 or 1, and anything which is an actual value is, well, I haven't really done anything here because that already comes in a payload. I think I have done these because that's how the negative values are handled in the PLC, or at least in Modbus. So the most significant bit is set to 1. That shows a negative value. So fairly simple to integrate and push the data into Datacake. And as I said, besides visualization, well, because it's a data management system, you can also do all sorts of reports as well. I have done a very, very simple report. So you can create a report, and in these reports, you can specify at what time the report should execute. So let's say I'm the manager of this pump station, and every every morning, well, 7 a.m. every morning, I want to see what was the history for the last 24 hours. So, you know, every day, 7 o'clock, I want this report to execute. I want these results to be sent to my email address, and I want a CSV file, and in that CSV file, I can I can add multiple fields or multiple data points that I want to be able to see. So I've just added the water tower level here, and of course I want it for the last 24 hours because it's a daily report. And I wanted a combined file, which doesn't make a difference here because I only have one field. So this is how the report looks like. So I've received the report at 7 a.m. That's what I configured and I just get a CSV file. And if I want to view the data in an Excel, I can just export this one and I can start my number crunching outside Datacake. So fairly straightforward, but I think a very useful functionality, these reports. I haven't done anything on the gateways because I'm not using LoRaWAN in this instance. The main thing was that since I have these Noda-red videos and I was using Weidmüller Automation Controller, that I would use the Noda-red automation. In the members, you can create those different users, as you mentioned. So let's say you are the administrator, you can make changes to the dashboard, but then you can create all the additional users who can still log in. You can just give them access to the dashboard, not any admin functionality, and they can just look at the screens and the values and how the charts go up and down. Next one, I also wanted to use a simple rule engine. To be honest, this has never triggered, fortunately, because it is monitoring the water level in the water tower. So if I edit the rule, you can see that it's very easy to create. First of all, you give a rule a name, and then you have these simple editor where you can configure the conditions when this rule should execute. So let's say I can pick the device and I can pick a field I want this to trigger on. Let's say the operating value, the operating hours, and you can even set the time scale. Yeah. So let's say I want the current value, and if it's equal to, less than, greater than, let's say if it's greater than 50,000. Oops. And if it's a value where the value goes up and down, you can even specify hysteresis. Well, because this is going to be an ever growing number, it's never going to go down. The hysteresis is not something that I will use here, so I can just leave it on 0. But for the water tower, I specified 1 centimeter. Maybe I could have picked a higher number. So if this condition, well, in this case, if these two conditions are met, then I want to receive an email notification. If your account is set up that way that you can also send text messages, you also have the option here to send text message. And again, you specify the email address, the subject, and the message. And you also can set up some retriggering, but then you would receive a notification from the Datacake. So again, you have a PLC which is monitoring some stuff. Maybe that PLC has some just basic functionality. It might not even be open to the internet, so that wouldn't be able to send you text message, email or text message notification. You just push the data to Datacake and you just use the rules engine to send you notification when something goes wrong. And the rest of the configuration works more related to how you can brand this site. So of course, I've just created something which says, WorldWorks Limited. You can create some white label configuration as well. So you can put your own logo here, so you can brand this website to look like your own website. You can also create specific domains, so it would appear as something.datacake.de. So again, it goes against more branding and more customizing to the solution or the actual dashboard to your liking. And finally, you have the billing information here. So as you can see, I don't have a text message crate. This is why the text message wasn't an option for me. And of course, the Datacake website itself is quite rich. There are a lot of embedded videos where some of the functionality is showcased for you. You can see different platforms that are supported. You find quite a few different industry solutions that they have implemented, and you can also see about the pricing. So we're just talking about some of the things that are included in the various subscriptions, and you can see them here. So it's a monthly subscription. I think that would be my presentation of the Datacake IoT platform solution. If you like this video, obviously you can just head up to datacake.co or .de and you can read about the solution itself. You can chat with the guys if you have some specific questions. And of course, if you like and that's the solution that you need, well, just sign up and try it for yourself. I think there is a free option as well. So you can play around with a few devices and a couple of data points and, with a 1 week data retention. And if you like it, you can just move over to one of the planned subscriptions and then, build your solution from there. But I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching and hopefully see you in the next video.